Franny and Zooey follows a three-act structure like a play does. Act number one is a conversation between Franny and Lane. Act number two is a conversation between Zooey and Bessie. And act number three is a conversation between Franny and Zooey. And that's what we have right now. Act three, conversation between Franny and Zooey, but it's in two parts and we'll just handle the first part. Anyway, they're here in the living room and it's described as a place full of oversized furniture, way too many pieces. I can't help but think that that symbolizes their minds and hearts and family. They're too full, too much of everything, excessive, overdone, crowded, confusing, not clear and minimalistic in modern style, but rather a cluttered style, just like their souls and minds are. Then Franny begins to describe her dream. She describes it as super spidery, but it has nothing to do with spiders. She's in a swimming pool. She is made by everyone she knows to go down to the bottom and get some coffee, but they all have swimsuits on and nobody's helping her. So the interpretation of the dream has to mean something like she's alone in the world and people are asking too much of her and nobody is helping her, but rather just telling her what to do. Then she goes on not to talk about her dream, but to talk about her real life and how creepy and stupid and self-centered and narcissistic her Professor Tupper is. He thinks he's God's gift to the school and that everyone should applaud every time he teaches a religion seminar. And he was there in her dream and he does nothing in real life. That reminds Zooey of his relationship with two men. I believe Hess is the writer and Lesage is some sort of agent, and how they're going to make a courageous TV show that everyone will be proud of. But it's not going to be beautiful. It'll just be courageous, and how he sees some of the same character traits in writers and TV producers as she does in her college professor. So I think that little bit there shows that Zooey is not going to judge her and think that he's somehow better than Franny. He's more relating on how he thinks the same thing about people as she does. Then he said that Lane filled him in about how negative she was in the conversation with him earlier, how absolutely terrible she was. She agrees that she was absolutely terrible and is a horrible hang, not fun to go to Sicklers with at all. And Zooey tells her, listen, you got to stop blaming the Professor Tuppers and the Lanes of the world and everybody. It's us. We're the tattooed freak lady. It's the problem is with us. It's not with other people. So that sounds an awful lot like Zooey is preaching humility, and rather than be a terror downer and someone who can, the lazy person, the non-genius, the non-beautiful person can always point out what's wrong. It's way easier and lazy and passive-aggressive and immature to point out what's wrong. Anybody can always be a terror downer. And so it's us. We're the freaks. We're the tattooed lady, and we should stop acting like everyone else is the problem when we're the problem. In fact, he has a name for that. He calls it the wise child complex, where you just carry on and criticize, but you're just being a little child when you do that. And he says, listen, you are having this breakdown, but I have an ulcer. So again, he's relating. And Franny basically says, I know, I'm just sick of myself. I'm in this spiral, and I hate myself, and I'm sick of myself. So the solution to this can't be more of myself. And so I'm sure she's alluding to the prayer there. And that's why she's trying to get out of this rut, but it also seems to be causing the rut. And he says, well, have you thought about the fact that you're just another piling up treasure? And she says, yes, but that's what college is. Maybe the very worst kind of piling up treasure, because you're just after knowledge, but the knowledge doesn't lead to some actual virtue. And knowledge is good, but it has to be fed into something that's beautiful or wise or loving. And so I hate college more than anything, because it seems to be the most selfish of all of the treasures. So yes, I'm aware, but I also detest what college represents. And so then they start to talk about the prayer in particular and whether the motives are piling up treasure or not. And she says, I'm aware. And then he says the problem is with her quest is that she's missing something. And so that gets back to our theme of beauty. So way back on page 7 in Act 1, when Lane is waiting for Franny on the train station platform, and Salinger, or Buddy, says that he emptied his face, otherwise it could have been a beautiful moment. We get this idea of beauty. Then when Franny and Lane are at Sickler's in the booth, she says they're not poets. Just because people are published doesn't make them poets. If you're going to be a poet, you can't just have syntactical droppings. You can't just be impressive in your use of language and your turn of phrase. You have to leave something beautiful. Then when we're in the bathtub reading Buddy's letter to Zooey, he's saying, well, yeah, if you're going to act, then ask yourself, how often have you seen Chekhov's Cherry Orchard not done well, not done competently, not done smart, but when have you seen that done beautifully? And he says, if you do act beautifully, then Seymour and I will put on tuxedos. If you ever find something beautiful to act in, we'll be there. Then in the conversation between Zooey and Bessie, after they're talking about the different scripts he's gotten, she says that the title of his script sounds interesting, and he mocks her, and she says, what, I didn't say it was beautiful. So this is a theme throughout the book, maybe the most important theme, and that is of beauty. Franny and Zooey are after beauty. Buddy and Seymour were after beauty. And now Zooey is going to tell Franny that this trip she's on, this tearing down her trip, they're going to miss it. And so they don't use, Zooey doesn't use the word beauty, but he says this to her. There are nice things in the world, and I mean nice things. We're all such morons to get so sidetracked. Always, always, always referring every damn thing that happens right back to our lousy little egos. So in other words, he's saying, by me having an ulcer, by these television writers and television producers, and by your hatred of Professor Tupper, your hatred of your boyfriend, your hatred of acting, guess what? We're doing the very thing that we're criticizing other people. Our egos are getting in the way, and guess what? Every day, beauty is going by us, and we're missing it because we're choosing to focus on the negative. Then he quotes Buddy. He said that a man should, he being Buddy, he said that a man should be able to lie at the bottom of a hill with his throat cut, slowly bleeding to death. And if a pretty girl or an old woman should pass by with a beautiful jug balanced perfectly on the top of her head, he should be able to raise himself up on one arm and see the jug safely over the top of the hill. By the way, that's just classic Salinger language. But the point of that quote is, it doesn't matter what you're going through, you should be able to recognize beauty when it slaps you in the face. And Zooey is telling Franny, neither of us are doing this. Particularly you are not doing this. By this breakdown, by this ego, by pointing out other people's ego, you're missing your own ego. And when you're unaware of your own ego, then you're every day missing out on the very thing that our family preaches, which is beauty. There are nice things in the world, really nice things in the world. And so if you just lump everything together as phony, you miss those nice things in the world. And so finally we get to his criticisms, Zooey's criticisms of Franny. I think there's basically 6 of them. Number 1, he says that he's not anti-prayer, it's the way she's doing the prayer. Number 2, it's the where. He says if you were having a legitimate breakdown, you wouldn't choose where you're having the breakdown. You wouldn't come home and have the breakdown. And also it's selfish because you're hurting our mother and father when you're having the breakdown here. So he's not anti-prayer. He's anti how she's doing the prayer and where she's doing the prayer. Number 3, he says your criticisms, everyone, are too sweeping. You're making the same problems sexist and racist make. You're making these sweeping generalizations. Just because you meet someone who's like this, it doesn't mean every professor is like this. It doesn't mean every boyfriend is like this. There are beautiful people, and if you make these sweeping generalizations, you miss really good things. So he's not anti-prayer, just how she's doing it, where she's doing it. Why is she coming home to have the breakdown? And number 3, it's too sweeping. Number 4, it's too personal. She's taking the actions of someone and making